III, who previously signed a manifesto in support of Taguig Representative Alan Peter Cayetano as House Speaker, presided the session. Pampanga Representative Rimpi Bondoc meanwhile stood as Majority Floor Leader. Other congressmen who had previously expressed support for Cayetano was present in the Velasco session. Buhay Party List Representative Lito Atienza first moved to have the position of House Speaker declared vacant. 186 lawmakers affirmed the motion.
I,
Lord Alan J. Quinto Velasco of Marinduque,
having been elected Speaker of the House of Representatives,
having been elected as Speaker of the House of Representatives.
A string of lawmakers then nominated Velasco as House Speaker, and with a 186 vote, the group named him the new House Speaker, replacing Cayetano, who led a separate session with his allies while the voting was taking place.
Nagpapasalamat rin ako sa tiwala at moral support ni Mayor Inday Sara Duterte, Deputy Speaker Pulong Duterte at Senator Bongo. Higit sa lahat, ako'y nagpapasalamat sa ating mahal na Pangulo. A man of his word. May isang salita. Sa mabuting halimbawa and for inspiring young government servants like me na hindi hadlang ang pagiging probinsyano para tayo ay makapagserbisyo.
Attorney Joselia Sipin was also elected as new Secretary General of the lower house, while Major General Mau Aplasca is the new Sergeant at Arms. But as far as Cayetano is concerned, Velasco's election to the top post is invalid since it was conducted outside of the lower house's session hall. He also argued that the mace used is not the original one. But for Cagayan de Oro Representative Rufus Rodriguez, the mace is only symbolic.
The mace is merely a symbol of authority, and the mace cannot take precedence or acquire a higher legal authority over the physical warm bodies and those attending through electronic platforms, constituting a majority of the members of each house present.
As he presumes to assume the lower chamber's top post, Velasco says the following days will not be easy, especially since Cayetano intends to preside Tuesday's special session for the 2021 budget. Velasco said he is willing to make peace with Cayetano and even offer him a deputy speaker post.
We would want to hold out a healing hand to former Speaker Cayetano. Let's stop all this. Nagsalita na po ang mayorya ng Kongreso. We are asking him to step down quietly, peacefully.
The camp of Velasco will also hold a session Tuesday, 10 a.m. at the plenary hall, while the side of Cayetano will be convening at 3 p.m. As for concerns on a further shakeup in the House leadership, Velasco said Majority Leader Martin Romualdez seems to still enjoy support from their colleagues. Deputy Speaker Paulo Duterte meanwhile submitted his courtesy resignation to both Velasco and Cayetano. For News 5, Ria Fernandez, We Are One News.
Their counterparts in the upper chamber can't wait for the scuffle in the lower house to end so that next year's spending plan can finally move forward. Senator Sani Angara said Congress should already call a session to order and conduct an election to resolve the conflict. Senator Bongo appealed to his fellow legislators to set aside politics and focus on the budget's timely passage. Senator Franklin Drilon, meanwhile, laid out a schedule that he says they can work on to ensure that the budget bill reaches the President's table before January 1st next year. Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano deems as illegal the election of his rival, Lord Alan Velasco, as the new House Speaker. He says it's a blatant disrespect of the Constitution. His arguments in Jenny Dongon's report.
A fake session, that's how Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano described the gathering of Marinduque Congressman Lord Alan Velasco and his allies at the Celebrity Sports Club in Quezon City. Cayetano said if Velasco's camp can't get away with holding sessions outside batasang pambansa as they please, the Philippines might as well be a banana republic.
The last time I checked, ang Celebrity Sports Club ay hindi namang kongreso. it creates a very, very disturbing precedent. Kung ang theory nila, basta't may quorum, anywhere they can meet, then that means at any point and any day,
The Taguig congressman touted the remote session as a blatant disrespect of the Constitution.
but this is unprecedented. Never in the history of the Philippines ganito ka baboy ang ginawa sa Kongreso. Never. Never.
He also accused the Velasco bloc of breaking quarantine protocols. Cayetano also said his rival is only thinking of himself. He also questioned Velasco's supposed silence during crucial stages in the 18th Congress.
Until the minute that I am told to leave, either the President as head of our coalition, and he tells me, Alan, I think Mr. X or Madam Y, baka nga maganda babae speaker. Di ba? Or someone who unites all of us, like Martin Romualdez. Di ba? Ang daming pwede dito. Wag lang naman yung panay absent. Tapos, pati yung ibang pinapapunta namin, iniintindi naman namin dahil may COVID, ayaw pumunta. Tapos pag speakership, pupunta. Di ba? Pag Bayanihan 1, hindi pupunta. Pag Bayanihan 2, hindi pupunta. Kapag sa ABS-CBN, hindi kami member ng committee.
Cayetano urged all of his colleagues to focus on the timely passage of the 2021 budget at the behest of President Rodrigo Duterte. He said they can always talk about changes in the House leadership after the budget deliberations, which he said can be finished in 2 to 3 days. Asked if he has enough supporters in the lower chamber, Cayetano said he has the advantage. He had also cast doubts on those who voted to make the speakership post vacant.
May manifesto kami. Ilan yung nakapirma sa manifesto natin? 205, kung hindi ako nagkakamali, no? 205. Eh may manifesto sila 187. So unless may flying voters dito sa Kongreso, sobra na sa numero ng mga kongresista.
Cayetano vowed that he will not allow Velasco to burn the House of Representatives down. And when push comes to shove, he said it will be one hell of a fight. Cayetano said he is still constitutionally bound to preside Tuesday's special session. He noted that Velasco and his allies are always welcome to attend the special session. For News 5, Jenny Dongon, We Are One News.
Palace spokesman Harry Roque says the president has had enough of the leadership dispute in the lower house. Still, Malacanang says Duterte is leaving it to Congress to decide on their leader as long as the 2021 spending plan gets passed, he says. Roque notes that the president wants representatives to set politics aside for now. Meanwhile, the palace said Duterte will not be addressing the nation this evening as planned, due, he says, to the cabinet meeting's long agenda.
Naasahan ho ng presidente na sang-ayon sa proklamasyon nito, magtitipon-tipon po ang lahat ng miyembro ng Kongreso bukas para talakayin ang budget at hindi po ang politika.
We'll go for a quick break. When the big story returns, the camp of detainee Reyna May Nasino files for furlough to allow her to grieve for her daughter, Baby River. And the pre-registration process for the national ID system has started. A look at the process after the break. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. 2 years after the Philippine Identification System Act was signed into law, the Philippine Statistics Authority has finally kick-started pre-registration for the national ID. How will this help, especially low-income households? Camille Samonte explains.
Ever since she lost her voter's ID a few weeks ago, transacting has been a struggle for Aling Rizzi. She was supposed to use it once the Social Welfare Department distributes the second tranche of the Social Amelioration Program. The dole-out could be deposited to a bank account instead. But like 52 million other Filipinos, Rizzi is unbanked.
Ang hirap nga po ma'am kasi maraming mga requirements na hinahanap pag mag-o-open ng account. Mahirap lang naman kami, di kami makakuha ng mga requirements na kasi kulang pa nga pagkain namin yung mga ilalakad namin.
For Rizzi, having a national ID would help people like her who belong in low-income households to deal with government transactions.
Gusto ko po makakuha ng national ID para pag kumuha rin ako ng ayuda, wala nang hahanapin na iba. Maganda po kasi yun kasi lahat ng benepisyo nandun na lahat.
Today, the Philippine Statistics Authority kicked off the house-to-house pre-registration for the national ID. The PSA aims to register 9 million individuals, including 5 million heads of low-income households.
Ang pinaka-priority na tinitignan namin na gamit ngayon ay para ito sa mga walang bank account, hindi makapag-open ng bank account dahil wala silang kaukulang mga ID. Diba, lagi tayong hinihingian ng ID kapag tayo ay mag-open ng bank account. So ito po ay kaya pinili namin ang mga low-income families na priority.
The agency says it will deploy staff in 32 provinces tagged as low-risk areas for COVID-19. The process for the national ID registration will involve 2 stages, pre-registration and registration proper. Starting today, the staff called enumerators will collect demographic information including gender, date of birth, blood type, and address. Biometric inputs such as iris scan, fingerprint, and photo will then be taken to assigned registration centers from November 25 to December 30. This will be followed by the distribution of ID cards that can be used through the PhilSys mobile application. Assistant Secretary Rose Bautista also assured the public that the public's confidential information will be secured.
May mga information na optional, yes, kagaya ng marital status, email address at cellphone number. Optional po ito. Pero may gamit po kasi yung pagtanong namin ng cellphone number. Dahil bibigyan ka po ng schedule pagpunta sa iyo ngayon. Step 1, pre-registration, bibigyan ka ng schedule kung kailan ka pupunta sa registration center na located sa iyong munisipyo o malapit sa iyong tirahan. At ipapaalalahanan ka through text kung kailan ka magpaparehistro.
The PSA also clarifies, however, that this is not mandatory, but they encourage the public to register because it will eventually be adopted in all government transactions. For News 5, Camille Samonte, we are One News.
While there has yet to be conclusive evidence that the virus that causes COVID-19 might be airborne, the Health Department wants the public to take no chances. In a memo, the DOH is urging the public to conduct activities in open-air settings. It has also ordered the installation of exhaust fans in comfort rooms. The agency also wants vehicles to utilize natural ventilation. Present studies suggest that SARS-CoV-2 is often transmitted through respiratory droplets.
Sa kasalukuyan, pinag-aralan po ng eksperto kung ang COVID-19 ay naipapasa through airborne. Habang wala pa pong conclusive na evidence ng airborne transmission, nire-rekomenda na ho ng DOH na tayo ay maniguro.
Meanwhile, the World Health Organization hopes the Philippines can send 4,000 participants for the Solidarity Trial. The Philippines currently has at least 2,000 volunteers. The vaccine trial is scheduled to begin by the end of October. And these are the other big stories today. The camp of political detainee Reyna May Nastino has filed an urgent motion for her temporary release to attend the wake and burial of her 3-month-old daughter, Baby River. According to Nasino's lawyers, the motion for furlough is meant to give the jailed activist time to grieve the death of her child. Nasino's camp sought a similar motion last Friday for her to be with her daughter, who passed away on the same evening while the plea was still pending. Police Chief Camilo Casculan says he only has a Facebook page but has no Facebook account. This comes as the social media giant took down 3 accounts purportedly posing as the PNP chief. The PNP anti-crime group said it had traced the top cops' posters that swindled netizens to donate tablets for online classes. The PNP also confirmed the arrest of an alleged leader of the Abu Sayyaf group along with 3 of its members in separate operations in Zamboanga City. The senior leader was identified as Hassan Anang Mohammad alias Usi, who was allegedly involved in the kidnapping and beheading of farmer Doroteo Gonzalez in Basilan back in 2009. Authorities confiscated a black ISIS flag, several rounds of 5.56mm rifle ammunition, assorted wires, and other IED components from the suspects. To lift the quality of teaching in the country, the University of the Philippines is proposing a qualification exam for those who want to take UP education, or rather, who want to take up education. But one lawmaker notes the move might actually be counterproductive. Mean Los Baños tells us why.
During the Senate hearing on basic education earlier today, some senators zeroed in on the low passing rate in the licensure examination for teachers last year. Only 27% of elementary school teachers passed the exam in March 2019, followed by a 31% turnout in September the same year. This is based on the data of the Philippine Normal University or PNU. Senate Committee on Basic Education Chairman Win Gatchalian questioned this.
In a perfect world, we want all of them to pass.
Yes.
In a reasonable world, we want at least naman po 70% pumapasa. Because we're looking at this as investments. But if you're talking about an average of about 30% in elementary and 48% in elementary, this is barely 50%.
Dr. Rosita Navarro, chairman of the Board for Professional Teachers, attributed the poor performance of teachers to several factors. She said education majors, for one, are not required to maintain a certain grade or what they call selective retention.
Many colleges and universities require, let's say, an average of 2 before they can proceed to the second year or the third year of certain courses like science, mathematics, and engineering. But not in education, they just continue.
But the Commission on Higher Education insisted there is no correlation between the low LET passing rate and open enrollment.
There is no conclusion that can be drawn that automatically the students taking up teacher education are the worst students to be admitted. Because the universities have different standards that they set. I don't know what is the empirical basis to conclude that at this point.
The UP College of Education is suggesting a national qualifying examination for students who want to take up education or a certificate on professional education. In this way, they could meticulously choose the individuals entering the education profession. But Gatchalian feared that the move would only reduce the number of teachers and affect the student-to-teacher ratio in the country. He agrees, however, that there is a need to look into the trainings of the teachers to make sure that they are competitive enough. Filipino students ranked second to the last in the world in the Program for International Student Assessment Results or PISA, this after performing poorly in science and English subjects. Reporting for News 5, Mean Los Baños, we are One News.
Let's pause for another break, but when we return, ahead of his Florida rally, U.S. President Donald Trump claims immunity from COVID-19, saying he no longer has the virus. That did not sit well with one social media giant. And the LA Lakers are the NBA champions for the 17th time. Leading the squad, King James, who got his 4th Finals MVP. The details on that next. You're still watching The Big Story. I'm Robbie Alampay. While the use of beep cards along the EDSA busway remains a sticking point, commuters could soon have a variety of options on how to go cashless in their commute. Gerard de la Peña shows us what these are.
After its contentious rollout last week, beep cards are now being handed out for free to commuters using the EDSA busway. But in a matter of months, riders may soon have other paying options. The Transportation Department has tied up with state-owned Land Bank of the Philippines for the creation of a payment platform for transport.
Hindi lang ho limited ito sa isang operator. Ito ho ay tatanggap ng maraming operator. Ito ho ang inaasam namin na magkaroon ng tinatawag na technology agnostic. Ibig sabihin, lahat ng klaseng teknolohiya ay matatanggap. Either gagamit ka ng card, gagamit ka ng papel, gagamit ka ng coins, gagamit ka ng cellphone, gagamit ka ng e-watch.
The DOTR is hoping that more options for cashless payments will be employed within the year and that full interoperability will be rolled out by the middle of next year. Also part of the deal is to allow the use of MasterCards to pay for fares in public transport. This would allow customers of Land Bank and other lenders to use their own bank-issued cards when paying for their rides.
Gagamitin po natin dito ay ating tinatawag nating mga bank cards. So yung mga existing na ating credit cards, debit cards, or prepaid cards na contactless, ito po yung magagamit natin.
Land Bank was likewise tapped for the distribution of subsidies for transport operators. The DOTR is initially looking at over 178,000 operators who will receive a one-time grant of 6,500 pesos each. Beneficiaries may be operators of buses, jeepneys, point-to-point, or minibuses.
Panggastos po sa pagsimula ng ating operations, panggastos sa ating fuel, pangbayad po sa ating mga existing loans upang matulungan po ang ating mga operators whether bumabiyahe na po o hindi pa.
The drivers, on the other hand, are expected to benefit from the service contracting program wherein the government will pay operators based on distance covered and not for the number of passengers. The DOTR has yet to announce the start of the program and the actual distribution of subsidies. For News 5, Gerard de la Peña, we are One News.
Still on transportation, commuters in the metro could soon be traveling in shifts, at least according to Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles. In an interview with Radio 5, Nograles said the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases is considering the move to avoid overcrowding. In order to do this, he said the IATF has been in talks with mayors to gradually relax curfew hours to as late as 1 a.m. No details, though, on how any staggered shifting might work.
Naintindihan naman po natin para mak-rebound ang ekonomiya, kailangan natin ng konting mga pagluluwag ng mga restrictions, no? At hindi lamang dito sa Metro Manila, kundi pati nationwide na rin po. Sa Metro Manila, wala namang problema yan. Gradual and calibrated lang. And open naman ang mga Metro Manila mayors na gawin ito.
After an opening weekend, we saw the Tropang Giga and the Gin Kings draw first blood in the league's first salvo. The PBA bubble tournament continues tonight. The Phoenix Super LPG dominated the Meralco Bulls in Monday's first match, 116-98, with Matthew Wright topping the boards with 36 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists. The Blackwater Elite and the Northport Batang Fiera are currently on a tight match with a game tied at 58 in the third quarter. But it's not only the games returning. The PBA is testing mechanics for a possible virtual audience. According to PBA Commissioner P. Marcial, they are looking to allow 250 fans as virtual audience per match. That could happen as soon as October 19.
Dahan-dahan namin sasabihin sa social media natin at sa TV5 kung paano sila papasok. Starting October 19, magpapapasok na tayo. Merong yatang invites, so hindi ko pa alam yung mechanics. Nag-uusap social media natin na si Mitch at si Miss Sienna ng TV5 kung paano ang execution.
Catch the PBA Bubble Games live on TV5 every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday, and on One Sports and PBA Rush Daily. Games are also seen live via Facebook and YouTube live stream, Radio 5 and Signal Play. It's official, the Lakers bagged their first championship in a decade after a finals clinch in Game 6. They toppled Miami Heat 106-93. In true King fashion, Finals MVP LeBron James led the squad with a triple-double, 28 points, 14 rebounds, 10 assists. Anthony Davis added 19 points and 15 rebounds. Miami struggled to recover after Los Angeles led by as much as 28 points in the first half. It was Bam Adebayo who topped score for the Heat with 25 points and 10 rebounds. Adebayo fueled the Heat with 25 points, but the Miami team failed to take off early in the first half. U.S. President Donald Trump is back in the campaign trail after claiming that he is cleared and, as he put it, immune from COVID-19. In a tweet over the weekend, the president said White House doctors had cleared him to resume public engagement. He went on to say that he was now immune from the virus that has infected millions worldwide. The tweet was flagged by Twitter as misleading and potentially harmful information on COVID-19. Trump will be in Florida today for his first campaign rally since testing positive for COVID-19. He has other scheduled rallies after that, with less than a month to go before the November 3 elections in the U.S. With most tourist attractions worldwide remaining closed due to COVID-19, is it still worth it to book flights? Well, for passengers on board Qantas flight to nowhere in Australia, that would be a yes. The 150 passengers of Qantas 787 Dreamliner flight enjoyed a full day of sightseeing some of Australia's most iconic landmarks in the comfort of their own plane seat. Qantas' idea for a scenic flight sold out in 10 minutes, with tickets ranging from around $600 to more than $2,700 depending on the seat class. The concept is meant to help the airline sector that has seen a massive hit after the pandemic dampened tourism worldwide. And that wraps up today's big story. Catch us again tomorrow at 8 p.m. on Signal Channels 8 and 250. Please like our Facebook page, One News. For more in-depth analysis, visit our webpage, onenews.ph. I'm Robbie Alampay. We are One News. Good evening.